Don't have this thing in your mind or be in this illusion that you have infinite time and that you will get done with everything. That is never going to be possible. When you make a decision of studying something, there is something else that you will always be excluding from that perspective, right? And that is perfectly normal. That is how life works. If I decide to do 10 things, I'll not be able to do anything at all. Somebody told me to smile, somebody told me not to smile. It's a serious affair. So there is going to be n number of advice. I would suggest do what you think is right. Be very careful who you take your advice from. Like ideally, you should be taking advice from somebody who has done the process and has been successful.
I started my full-fledged preparation after I joined the Ultimate Assessment Program at Civilsdaily.
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 There is a 12-month strategy which I have done on Civilsdaily platform only.
I reached out to the Civilsdaily team.
Civilsdaily.
Current affairs में Civilsdaily.
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 A mentorship program of Civilsdaily, and that did help me a lot.
Taking gyan from multiple sources because of FOMO and then and not sticking with what the mentor is saying. They have multiple advisors, right? Okay, now this is something that I'd like to mention. See, there is going to be as many advices as there are going to be toppers, right? Everybody has their own way of doing things. There is a personal touch to everything. It's necessary that you have to sort of go out there and find somebody who suits your palate and your mental, framework to come to the right kind of advice. But then again, don't get sucked up into this myriad of advices and sources out there. Okay, everybody has 24 hours in a day, and everybody has to focus on something. Interestingly enough, I'm reading this book right now. It's called 4,000 Weeks. In that, the author gives a very interesting insight. It's like any time that you decide to do something, you naturally, as a part of the process, have to forego something else. There is always going to be an opportunity cost. So if I have 2 months to study modern history and then I pick up, let's say, Spectrum, then it is at that point of time, it is decided that you will not be studying Bipin Chandra, right? Don't have this thing in your mind or be in this illusion that you have infinite time and that you will get done with everything. That is never going to be possible. When you make a decision of studying something, there is something else that you will always be excluding from that perspective, right? And that is perfectly normal. That is how life works. If I decide to do 10 things, I'll not be able to do anything at all. So focus on limited resources and then try to extract multiple insights and knowledge from that as a key strategy. So multiple limited sources and multiple revisions, I think, is the way of going for this paper. Other than that, you will get n number of advice from the prelim stage right up till the interview stage. There will be hundreds of people telling you hundreds of things. For example, in the personality test, I was told multiple times, keep your hands on your knees. Somebody then corrected me, is like, why are you keeping your hands on your knees? Keep your hands in a natural manner so it feels as if you're being very natural. Somebody told me to smile. Somebody told me not to smile because it's a serious affair. So there is going to be n number of advice. I would suggest do what you think is right and then pair it with something that gives you realistically, gives you some message that you're on the right track. Now, for you, that is going to be mock tests. So when you follow a source, when you follow somebody's advice, if it is resulting in higher marks for you in any exam, any mock test, then that is going to be the right advice for you. Okay. Other than that, following multiple sources and other advices from people, and be very careful who you take your advice from. Like ideally, you should be taking advice from somebody who has done the process and has been successful. Because if you go to ORN, then at every tea stall there will be somebody there to tell you something new or some new source. So abhi kitne logo ka aap sunoge, right? And that is not somebody that you should be following in the first place. So be careful who you listen to, be careful who you take advice from, keep limited sources and take multiple revisions, right? And then again, clarity comes from trusting one system long enough to make it your own. Like I mentioned from the book 4,000 Weeks, you have to choose something, and by virtue of making a choice, you'll always be excluding some other things. So don't worry about that too much, right? And have faith in the process that whatever you're studying, you're going to get maximum benefit out of it. That being said, I'm not saying that just study NCRTs and go to the paper. You have to have a level of knowledge. You have to have a level of preparation. Have a few standard books that you satisfy your exam requirements with, but then don't overdo it, because there is going to be limited amount of time, and that time is same for everybody. You have to cover a syllabus and you have to reach a certain standard of delivering content. So keeping these things in mind, don't go after everything that is there in the market, right? So we'll move on to the next thing that I think was very important from the past few years, which is taking CSAT for granted, right? Uh, so generally, people have this tendency of taking a qualifying paper very lightly. This is CSAT in its place is obviously being this now big demon that is scaring everybody else. But any other qualifying paper of for that matter also, you must take seriously, which is also includes your language paper in your mains exam. I have studied for the language paper as well for an hour daily because my Hindi writing skills were not that good, and I'm not very comfortable writing in my mother tongue, which is Marathi. Okay, so I had to go through the previous year question papers of Hindi as well, look at those muhavre, look at those pathit gadyansh, and practice a few nibandhs so that I could at least qualify that paper because you have to have around 75 marks in that as well. And I don't know if everybody knows this or not. If you fail in your language paper in mains, your other 8 papers are thrown in the dustbin, like they are not even checked. So if you fail in that paper, you'll not be even evaluated on other subjects. So you won't have a idea also of how you have done in your GS or your optionals. So be sure that you will qualify that paper. Look at a few PYQs and ensure that you are qualifying that paper with ease. Now, coming to CSAT, this paper has failed a lot of people coming from different backgrounds. It's not as if just humanities people from humanities are having this problem. It is true for engineers as well. And I will explain to you why is that because this is an aptitude paper. People have this wrong notion that engineers are good at math. That math is sort of theoretical in nature. This is an aptitude paper which kind of requires you to develop some kind of tips or like tricks in the real examination. Okay, so you have to count a number of cases. So it's not true as if that if you're an engineer, CSAT is going to be a cakewalk for you. You have to have that knack of cracking those questions in a very small amount of time. Okay, so be sure that you are practicing CSAT from your end as well. And how do you ensure that you qualify the CSAT paper, which is like it is true for everything else in the UPSC preparation? You have to have a lot of practice. Now, I don't think that this paper, being qualifying in nature, requires you to give extensive amounts of time for this preparation. I think between this period from Jan to May, which is essentially your prelims preparation, you should give around 2 hours every day at the fag end of the day for your CSAT, so that you are in a position to practice questions and deliver the required amount of performance on the D day. Also, you should be giving a lot of mock tests for CSAT and figuring out what areas you are poor in. For lot of people, it is generally aptitude and your mathematics, which you should be practicing well in advance because it is not something that is built in a day. Also, you can definitely build your aptitude. It is possible. And I have surely seen people who have I have friends who have failed CSAT for 4 years consecutively, and this time they have scored above 100 marks. So it is definitely possible to build aptitude, contrary to the belief, right? So, and we have definitely seen people who have scored very high marks in mathematics, people with mathematics option also. They have sometimes not been able to qualify CSAT. So ensure that you give a good amount of time to CSAT. Be sure that you have practiced enough mock tests. So you have built your confidence that, okay, I'm able to score 100 plus marks, and then I'll be able to deliver in the paper as well. Other than that, your approach in the paper on that particular day is the other 40% that you should be taking care of, because sometimes the paper can come unpredictable. You should be having the uh, confidence, and you should be calm enough to be able to skip maths and go to English, or skip English and go to maths, depending on how they have set the paper. So that is some kind of sense of presence of mind, right, that has to be developed. And again, that is going to be possible when you give enough number of mock tests to be very comfortable in your own skin in the real examination, right? So don't neglect CSAT, and ensure that you prepare for this paper.